All right, I think we're live, Wayne.
I think we are. I think we are.
Yes. Well, today I decided to bring hubby on the show, partner in crime and partner in life for the last 37 years. And so Wayne's going to have me on the hot seat today.
Yeah.
But before, I know that some of you guys are going to be taking a little while to get on. So we'll give it about a minute because we know that most people watch this on the replay. And so we're not going to take too much in the beginning.
Right.
We'll get started and you get caught up whenever you get on. So we'll wait until we see one viewer and then we will get started.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, yes. So if you pop on here, please put your city or your state or your country in the chats for us. And if you're watching this and it's after 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday, you're going to be team replay. And we're going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, Wayne, I don't know if I want to wait on anyone. Let's just go.
We'll let it rip.
We'll let it rip. So,
well, the subject of our talk today is about developing emerging leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this came about because about 3 weeks ago or so, I made a post about a time in our company when we promoted a leader before that person was really ready for the role. And then Sharon took my post and actually pointed out another time we made the same mistake and reposted it. And it kind of went viral, right? It was like a mini viral post.
It was.
It had like over 50,000 impressions. More than 1,100 likes on there, a bunch of comments, and close to 200 reshares. So we know, that we sort of hit a nerve with that post. And as we were saying in transparency, we actually had made that mistake twice.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people resonated with that. And so we kind of want to pull that apart a little bit and to talk about why was it that as a young company we made those decisions, and then how can we do better going forward. So we see Elijah Davis just showed up. Hey Elijah, how are you doing?
Good to see you, my friend. All right.
Yeah. So in order to pull this apart, Sharon, I was wondering, right? Because looking back, I think it's easy for you and easy for me to see sort of like the reasons why we were making the decision. But for the audience's sake, give us a little context as to what was the reason behind us making the decision of promoting that person into a position that they were not ready for at the time.
Okay, so the post that Wayne's talking about, just to refresh for those of you who didn't see the quote unquote viral post, he had posted about an employee who we had promoted and who didn't work out. And then of course I remember another one that we had promoted who didn't work out for a different reason. And it just goes to show, as you were saying that, Wayne, that when you're a young leader, you can make a lot of these mistakes, right? The first guy, we had a limited amount of staff, and so we put him in a position of leadership, and he was not qualified. The second woman that we promoted, she was someone with a better personality,
right?
Great worker, and we thought, let's put her in a position of leadership. And she didn't work out for two different reasons. One guy was competitive, right, and was trying to thwart the people underneath him. And the other lady just said, I did not want to be promoted, right? And so two different reasons. But when I look back, as you said, now that I have some maturity in me and you as well,
right?
A missing piece of all of that was getting them prepared.
Mm-hmm.
We did not prepare them for leadership, right?
Right.
We assumed that because they were great employees or skilled employees, right, skilled at what they did,
right,
that they would make skilled leaders. And we were completely mistaken because for the one guy, for example, he lacked so many skills.
Right.
Really.
Maturity was one of them, right? Like you said, he was competing with up and comers at a time where actually it would have made him look good to have raised up,
right?
People under
I'm glad you mentioned that, Wayne, because honestly, even as a leader myself,
Yeah.
I learned about the whole raising up of people just through leadership development.
Trial and error.
Just trial and error. You know, that the more you lift people up, and I think you were telling me about that thing, the rising tide brings everyone up, right? Yeah. And the more you bring people up is the more you go up as a person. And it was John Maxwell's book that he demonstrated that when you're trying to push people down, right? When you're pushing them down, if you think about it, folks, when you're standing and you're pushing someone down,
you're going
down as well. And so just that simple changing your mindset for me as a young leader was like, oh, okay, I wasn't really pushing anyone down, but I really wasn't putting them up either.
Right.
But if I'm pushing them down, I'm going down, and I want to go up. I got to bring people up. And some of these are the things that we didn't explain to these people because we didn't know ourselves, right? And that is why leadership development, Wayne, starts at the top, because you cannot give and train what you yourself do not know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, what would you suggest, Sharon, for companies that get in the context of things are happening fast, companies growing quickly, you kind of need a body, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes that's what happens, right? We just feel like you've got to have someone in the seat, so you kind of push the most qualified person or the person who's doing the best in the department or whatever the case may be. You push that person in there, but kind of speak to that. Like, what are companies really supposed to do?
It's another good question. I know you're asking me because we have been there, where we've been fast growing, right? At the speed of light, and we're just trying to find people to put in the space. But really, what a company should have in their DNA is a training, just a training protocol, right? So that there's ongoing preparation, succession planning, ongoing prep for people, so that as opportunities arise, right, you have qualified bodies to put in there. But many people or many leaders really don't pay much attention to training and development.
Yeah.
Right? They'll get coaching for themselves or for their executive leaders if they are so inclined, but definitely not for the folks, in the ranks. But that's where they're promoting from, is the ranks. And they promote a good person like we did, or a good worker, but that person has literally no tools. Tools. But if you find yourself in that position where, you know what, I threw some bodies in, it's not too late, though.
Right.
It's not too late to get them some coaching, to get them some, development. And this whole idea of leaders versus managers, I think that's a myth now, because that was back in the day, in the 50s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. But now, to me, it's all leaders.
Right.
Because if you're a manager and you're over people and people are following you, you are a leader.
Yeah, you're still expected to lead.
Yes.
But before you go any further with that, Sharon, I just wanted to go back a little bit on what you said, because I think it's so important and probably something that gets overlooked a lot, right? About developing the culture of leadership, the culture of training, the culture of people in the pipeline and of succession and all of that. Because like you said, I know in like trying to lead a fast growing business, like all of that, like you're not, that's it. What Stephen Covey would call quadrant 2 type activities, right? Like it's really, really important. You really need to do it, but you're too busy putting out fires. Yeah. So how do you deal with that? Like, where does that come from?
It's a good question. And I keep hitting this as a good question because I wish more leaders would ask this question.
Right.
Okay. I wish more
because you coach a lot of leaders in companies and organizations.
Yes.
And you see there's a recurring problem, right? And I think it's part of why it was such a viral post.
It is.
Because not everyone, but many people could resonate with this issue.
Let me just say this. I so admire the companies though who get this right.
Right.
I so admire, I've worked with a few clients and they get this right.
Yeah.
They not only develop themselves as leaders, the ones at the top, seeking to always grow, but they put that investment into their
emerging leaders. Yeah.
And so what do you do? Well, it goes back to why CEOs and senior leaders also need coaching.
Yeah.
Because that is a mindset. You have to have the mindset that this is what you want for your organization.
Yeah.
right? It's not going to just appear, right?
Yeah.
Because what are CEOs and leaders looking at? Bottom line, just good, vision,
Right.
all of
clients,
that, client retention, client acquisition, maybe other company acquisition. And they're building and they're growing, but their people aren't growing. It's
Right.
almost like a church that grows this wide, a lot
Right.
of people, but the people are this
Right.
deep in their
spiritual growth. They're
this
shallow.
deep. They're very shallow. Very
Right.
shallow. It's the same type of thing. Companies growing this wide, but they're the training and
Yeah.
those things that make great culture and makes people want to stay with you is this narrow.
Right.
And
Which then leads to like retention
problems.
Yeah.
Quiet quitting problems.
Mhm.
People leaving, bad bosses problems. People think a lot of time it's about money for an employee.
Right.
It's money is up there too, but it's a lot about, am I growing in this organization?
Yeah.
And I know when I was a young leader, I worked with this wonderful company, and I don't remember how much I got paid. It wasn't important to me back then that much. What I remember was the training.
Right.
The training that I
The
got
commitment
from
to the
this
training.
company, the commitment, it's I think it's what really propelled me as a 22-year-old to get into this stuff later on.
Yeah.
Quality training. So when we had our own law practice, it was as part of the culture.
Right.
Like we're going to have a culture of training.
Yeah.
So even though we made some mistakes earlier on, once we really caught on, we developed this culture of training. And before we're going to further, I just want to say, hey, Elijah, or if anyone else is watching from anywhere, you have a question, please go ahead and put your question in the comments. We will definitely answer that or try to. And if you're a team replay and you're watching this and it's after 1:30 on Wednesday, put your question in. I think Elijah has a question. What was that question?
Yeah. So Elijah says, Wayne and Sharon, adding to your wonderful perspectives on developing leaders, Jack Welch wrote, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others.
So Elijah, you just touched on my mentor. I never met the man, of course, but I was a Jack Welch fan. I know he had some tough parts about him, but just what he did with GE and just his whole leadership model. He's someone I studied very heavily when I was coming up on the leadership journey. So yes, success is all about growing yourself, but it's all about growing others. That's the real success.
Yeah.
And John Maxwell really pushes that whole message of adding value to people. He really pushes that so much. And that's why maybe I became certified by his coaching program.
And you know what, Sharon, it's interesting because here's the thing, going to Elijah's point, right? When you invest in others, it makes them better. And then it comes back to you because it makes your life easier and it enables you to do more, enables the organization to be better. So really by investing in others, it's almost like an investment back into yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? And by not investing in others, you're really short-circuiting yourself. You're actually hurting yourself. Although you think you're impeding yourself by elevating other people, it's the other way around, right?
It's back to what you said earlier about Stephen Covey's quadrant, right? So the quadrant 2 activity is investing in other people.
Right.
And eventually it comes back to help the company.
Absolutely.
But a lot of leaders operate in quadrant 1, which is emergencies, and they don't take the time to operate, and consider things like the long-term training, succession planning.
Who are we going to be as a company?
Who are we going to be as a company? How are employees feeling?
Yes.
And when I just got certified recently with the DISC program, I'm getting my next level certification in that program right now.
Yeah.
And what I like about it, and it's, there are all these different personality types, right? But I think what I like about, as I'm, getting certified and, just work with my clients with this, what I like about it is really showing how different people are. So, for example, maybe back then, had we done a personality profile on this man that we promoted,
we'd have understood.
We would have understood that he's just a dominant person, and it's just hard to work with.
He's good at what he does, but he's not going to be good at leading others.
And that woman would have been a person like, listen, I'm what they call an S. I'm steady, I'm loyal, but I don't want to lead anything. I don't even like confrontation. And that's kind of like the profile of that person.
Right.
And had you just known these things, you'd have more intelligent conversations and
Right.
make better decisions.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's interesting that you brought that up about the disc, because it went really to my next question, because I was going to say to you, all right, then.
Mhm.
So if I'm a CEO or a leader in a company, and now I know these things and I want to do better, right? And I don't want to just grab a body and put them in the position.
Yes.
What should I be looking for in that emerging leader? Are all emerging leaders, kind of the same, and you just take them from wherever they're at and bring them up? Or are there qualities as a senior leader that you're looking for to identify potential?
Yeah, and on that same post, there are so many different people's opinions, right? People
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about leaders. Some people are born
Are
leaders,
naturally
they're
made.
natural leaders, and
Right.
I like what Maxwell said. He said, there's no born leader. Every leader is born They're born from someone, right?
We're all born.
But I know from my own personal experience that I don't think I was a born leader necessarily. I think
Right.
I think I became a trained and developed leader.
Yeah.
I think my natural thing was to be shy.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't necessarily the one raising my hand in class and stuff, even though I knew the answer. But for me, I'm a product of leadership development, right?
Yeah.
And developing
Yes.
myself, and so I look at it that way, that if I can be developed into a leader who then train and coach other leaders,
Right.
then I think it's a skill that can be trained and learned by anyone. But what do you look for in an emerging leader? Well, there's got to be some interest. I learned it from the mistakes.
Yeah.
There should be some interest in that individual in wanting to lead. It would also be good if you actually see them leading without a title.
Right. That's right.
Are they demonstrating? Are they leading a
Catch them
conversation?
leading without being asked.
Without
Yeah.
being asked.
Right.
Do people look to them for anything?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because leaders influence others, right?
Right.
So I like the thing that Maxwell again said: if you're leading and no one's following, you're only taking a walk. Right. So
That's right.
are people following this person's opinion
Right.
in staff?
Kind of
meeting?
de facto leader.
Yes,
Yeah.
either the fact are they the ones who come to you with the suggestions?
Right.
Are they the mouthpiece for the organization? So they may have raw talent,
Right.
right? How do you then take that raw talent and hone that talent? And that's
Yes.
in leadership development.
Yes.
Because there's all these things that you learn, Wayne, in coaching and becoming a leader. It's things like how to communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes.
It's so important. I remember when, again, not being emotionally aware as a young leader, I would wear my emotions on my face, right? So I would come to the office, and if I'm having a bad day or the numbers aren't adding up, I'm really serious and my head's down. And I remember an employee saying to me, "Hey, Mr. Gill, when you walk in the office, we know which way the wind is blowing. We can just do this." And I'm like, huh? We just do this. That was not good. That was, if you're a leader and your people tell you that when you walk in the office, you set the temperature or the thermostat or whatever, it is not good, right? Especially if it's a negative. That really spoke to me. And I became aware.
Right.
I became emotionally aware. Way before I knew about emotional intelligence and emotional awareness. We're talking back in the 90s, right?
Right.
I became emotionally aware. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so I need to know how to adjust my emotions for the sake of my team. So these are the kind of things that you learn as a leader, that you don't just walk into your office and into your organization and blow up the place because you're having a bad day, you know?
Right.
So these are things that have to be trained.
Yeah.
And these things is what you learn in coaching and in training.
Yeah. Because as a leader, sometimes we think like maybe unloading emotionally is part of our prerogative as a leader, right?
That is
Right.
That is very much so.
And it could be very damaging to the
Yes.
organization and to key people who you need, so it's almost like shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah.
That is a point I have to say something on.
Yeah.
That mindset of that dictatorial leader,
Yeah.
that
I'm the leader.
who says, I'm the leader, so if I'm having a bad day, you suck it up.
Yeah.
Or I'm having a bad day, I'm paying you. You won't keep people very long. I'll tell you that they'll stay if they're staying the same for money, and they're staying and they're resenting you, and they're giving you a percentage of what they could give you.
Right.
Because when I talk to, I work mostly with leaders and their leadership team, Wayne, but I have spoken to team members, right? That's close to the leader, who are definitely looking for an exit.
Right.
And so that's why I like to work with both, because sometimes a leader may hire you to work with their team because they're having problems.
Right.
But I have to just say this. The problem a lot of times is the leader. Okay. And if the leader isn't willing to change,
Right.
it's challenging to try to create a good culture if you're behaving
Right.
outside of the culture we're trying to create.
That's right.
Because culture comes from the top.
Right. That's right.
Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put it in. And even if you're watching us team replay, we will answer the question. But we have a couple more to go.
I'll throw one last one at you, Sharon, and then if you want to embellish, you could run with that. But I was thinking, okay, so now I'm watching this, and I'm that leader. I've made the mistake though already. Mm-hmm. Like I promoted the guy or the gal. Mm-hmm. They're in the position. They're doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
All right. Now I don't know what to do about that either because I feel bad. What do I do? How do you?
It's really easy.
How do you deal with that?
If they're doing a terrible job, you promoted them because you thought they would do a good job. So you saw something in that individual, right?
Right.
And they're not living up to it. What you could do before you get anyone involved on the outside is have a conversation.
Right.
Have a conversation with that person. Say, hey, I noticed that you're not performing the way I thought. I know that you can.
Right.
Let's have a conversation. What's going on?
Right. Yeah, that's
let's
good.
Let's have an open and honest conversation. What's going on? They may be overwhelmed.
Right.
They may
That's
be
right.
like the young lady who told me when I had that conversation with her, like, what's happening? She said, I didn't want this.
Right.
I didn't want this. And you may hear that, right?
Yeah.
Or you may hear I'm overwhelmed, or you may hear I'm having problems at home.
Right.
Or my mom's ill, or something else. And that at least, okay, now we have an open dialogue.
A way in, yeah.
But I also think too that if you value that person, what I did before I could hire great coaches for my team, I worked with a community college, and I would identify courses at the community college for like new supervisors, new managers. And our company paid for those people to go, and take these courses. I mean, that's still available.
Or we brought them in.
Or we brought consultants in. Or we brought these teachers, and we had a good partnership. We had these trainers who came in and gave us a good, good rate. So you have that. That could be your first line. And then of course, then you have coaches like myself and others who work in this space, right? Who work with leaders as well as their team, their emerging leaders and senior leaders, to really work as a cohesive group, right? Because when you hire a coach, it's not just to say, hey, go do this. You got to work with the CEO. What is their vision? What is your vision for your organization? Right? That's one of the things I want to know. What have you done so far? To remedy your current situation.
You totally need context.
Yes. What is what have you done? What is the culture here? Is there a training culture here? And if not, look, maybe we can begin one together. But I think that the upper leaders, right, upper management, CEOs, founders, whatever, they are the ones that set the tone for the organization. And, my appeal to them is to take another look at development and training. And, there's all levels of that, right? From reasonable, to, quite expensive, depending on what your needs are.
Yeah.
But there is no excuse in today's market with so many coaches and consultants not to have leadership development in your organization.
Yeah.
All right. So that was Wayne having me on the hot seat. I think you're done with me now, Wayne.
Yeah, I think we've covered enough for today's broadcast. But certainly, folks, on the replay, drop your questions in the comments. And I know Sharon and myself will go back through them and we'll respond. And we'll keep this dialogue going because I know this continues to be an issue. Just based off of, many comments to that effect on the original post. And so I know it's not an easy thing when you're growing to be able to take the time to address these kind of issues, but it's worth it in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. Now I've made this commitment to myself that this month of June, I'll be doing a live every day. At least Monday to Thursday anyway. I'm not sure about Fridays because I'm going to work on a Friday, but Monday to Thursday at least, I'll be doing a live every day this month, these 4 days, It's a challenge I've made to myself. I've been doing a training every day. So if you're on the replay, check back here tomorrow at some point. I go live again. Look out for the notices and take care. Guess we'll get that.
See you in the next one. Bye, y'all.
Bye.